Hello and welcome to the Priggya Arora show, where we discuss law and entrepreneurship with people who have been there and done that. My name is Priggya Arora, founder of PA Legal, where we help creators and innovators protect their intellectual property. And our guest for today is Stephen Blake, the director of Matter IP. Welcome, Stephen, on the show.
Thank you very much, Priggya.
Thank you. So, Steve, let's just start out with something fun and interesting. What is one thing in life you cannot live without?
Well, you know, I'm always really rubbish at these things. I never can pick any one thing. But I think the first thing that came to mind. The first thing that came to mind was my dog, who is, don't tell my family I said that, but he's down here sleeping. So it's my dog, definitely my dog. I think about all the smiles and laughs that I have now that I didn't have before he was here. So that makes me think it's probably him.
I know because I also own 2 pets, and it's such a bliss to have pets, but my dogs are not as calm as yours. If they are here, I can't do anything.
Well, let's hope he doesn't try to disrupt the interview too much. But at the minute, he's quiet and everything. Good, but yeah, usually he's pretty good, so we'll see.
Wow, awesome. I have a German Shepherd, so he's never quiet. He's always agitated. Yeah, wow. So, Steve, can you tell us something about your journey and how did you reach where you are today?
Yeah, it's quite a long one, actually. I came to intellectual property pretty late, into my early 30s. Before that, it was sort of engineering. I spent some time in the Air Force, the Royal Air Force, which was great. And then I left the Royal Air Force, and that was when I went to university. So I was actually late going to university as well. I started at university at 27 and then stayed for 6 years in total. And it was after that I sort of decided to come into intellectual property as a patent attorney, starting with a firm near to where my university degree was, Potter Clarkson, a great firm, who were kind enough to give me sort of an internship type thing. And then I managed to get a position with them afterwards. It was actually my now business partner, Douglas Rankin. He was the one that suggested intellectual property to me and patent attorney to me. And it was, we were on the golf course, not on the golf course, we were on the driving range at the time, just hitting balls. And he said that he was thinking about that. And from there, it just sort of spiraled. And we're obviously both now been in it for about 15 years.
Wow. So, Stephen, mainly this podcast is so that people can learn from our journeys and the guest, whoever is here. So I have 2 questions from whatever you answered to, right now. So first is like, I know people think it's too late to change careers. So what is your take on that? Because I believe it's never too late. The moment you realize that you want to start something, you should do it. So what's your take in that? And what were the challenges you faced while switching to the career?
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's never too late. Definitely never too late. In fact, I would argue that starting Matter IP, what was almost a year ago now, was actually another change of career, even though it's sort of in the same area. Running a business is completely different to being a partner in a law firm. So it's sort of, there's a whole new set of challenges and some of the same challenges too. But I would say, you know, the problems, personally, I never felt them. I just have always just done it. And I'm a believer that that's the hardest step, that first step. If you can make that first step, then everything else kind of happens. But you've got to be comfortable with learning as you go and therefore making a few mistakes, right? If you sit around and you wait for everything to be just right before you make the move, then you'll be waiting probably forever. Yeah.
Awesome. So I always tell people that the first step, like if we want to learn swimming, the first step is just to dive into the pool. And I think it is the hardest step to take. After that, we eventually learn whatever we want to learn.
Absolutely. You just got to do it. You just got to do it. And if you do it, then you'll learn. You'll make mistakes, but you'll learn and you'll get better. That's the only way to get better, right? So yeah, that would be what I would say. Just do it. It definitely never is too late. And especially in the modern world, it's completely different now, right? Gone are the days when you stayed in a single career, a single job or a single sort of position for all of your career. Those things just don't seem to happen as frequently anymore.
Yeah.
So the world is much more open to it as well, I think now. So yeah, just dive in.
I think with technology, like you said, with technological advancements and everything, it's easier to connect with people, easier to probably build businesses. Like it's the easiest since forever. Like this is the easiest time to do that.
Definitely. And this medium that we're talking over now has helped a huge amount, right?
Okay.
I mean, that's changed the landscape massively because, well, obviously without it, we wouldn't be able to have this conversation for a start.
Yeah.
And so you wouldn't be able to have conversations with many other people around the world. Social media gets derided quite a bit for the negatives that it brings. But one positive is that you can always find your tribe. No matter where they are around the world, you can build communities now in a much more dispersed way. And that really helps when you're starting a new business, definitely.
Awesome. I think building communities is next superpower that we have. Like we have our own tribe.
Yeah, exactly. You just got to find them, right? And you could never find them before because geography was in the way.
Yeah.
But now geography is not in the way anymore.
Awesome. So now, Steve, let us know, how did you think about starting Matter IP? What was your idea behind it? Because you were doing well as a partner in a law firm. Then how did you decide that you want to enter into business side of law? Like you want to build up your own practice and your own firm?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really that many of my clients when I was working in a law firm were sort of SME sized.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed working with those clients. And I think that there's a part about those larger law firms that sometimes, I think the most efficient way that larger law firms can operate is with other large organizations. And so often they're set up to deal with that. Not that they can't service smaller clients too, but there's just, I and Douglas, we both together sort of sensed that there was something about the startup and SME market where they just wanted something a bit different. And we felt that there was an opportunity for us to provide that, help them get a different sort of IP support, not just external advisors at the end of sort of arm's length relationships, but somebody that comes closer to their business and is able to advise in a much more rounded way. Now, there are people out there that do that as well as Matter. Matter's not the only one. But I guess when we looked at it, we sort of thought, well, okay, large tech businesses, they all have an in-house head of IP.
Yeah.
And they do that for a good reason, because those people can help manage the relationships with patent trademark attorneys and sort of other external advisors. They can also manage the strategy internally, make sure risks are properly mitigated, all of these things. But then when you come down to smaller businesses like startups and SMEs, they don't have that in-house expertise. So there can, in some relationships, be a big knowledge gap between the SME over here and, I mean, let's say patent attorney, trademark attorney, whatever it is over here. And there's quite a big deficit in knowledge there, which makes it harder for the SME to interact in that relationship. So what Matter's all about and what we wanted to do was provide that bridge in between and that support that is a bit closer to the business, really they're in-house counsel, but not without having to hire someone, right?
Maybe in-house counsel of a number of firms.
Well, that's it. Yeah, that is exactly it. And so our service is all about that. For businesses that cannot justify
Correct.
hiring a full-time in-house counsel, we fill that role for them in a way that makes sense for their business, budget-wise, amount of time-wise, and resource-wise, that makes sense for their business. That's what it's all about. And really, I always think, well, SMEs, I think all around the world, for every economy, they really form the backbone.
Yeah.
But in this context, in the legal services context, I think they get the worst deal. They don't get to drive large discounts, law firms, because they don't have volume of work.
Yeah.
And they often are not able to access the same level of service just because their needs are different to what the law firm can provide. So we wanted to try and right that wrong a bit.
Yeah, and I agree with you so much. Like, I know specifically this SME sector and law, like people, small businesses, they require hand holding because they are unaware about their rights, unaware about the procedure of registrations and things like that. So they need hand holding, they need education. I think half of our work is about educating people and other half is actually doing the work.
Yeah, and the other thing is that this hand holding, it depends on your business models. One of the other things we never do is charge by the hour. So and if your business model is about charging by the hour, it makes it much more difficult for you to be able to do that hand holding because you can't charge for that, and so it's time that's kind of dead within your system. But the way that we charge is on fixed fees.
Yeah.
And we think that aligns us better with outcomes. So we try to sell client outcomes. Yeah. And if you can do that, then the outcome, part of that handholding, it gets the client to the outcome that they're buying. So it's much easier to justify.
I know. I know this fixed fee is absolutely amazing, and mostly people who work with our kind of people, our kind of lawyers, they are getting that moving towards fixed fee, and it's absolutely important because it brings no surprises to the client. At least client knows whatever he has to pay in advance. Absolutely, that certainty over cost is really important, but it goes deeper even than that. It's not that firms that are charging by the hour, it's not that they would ever sort of prolong a job to get more money, but that would be the outcome. So if you end up with somebody that is slower, then you pay more for that than you would pay for somebody that is faster. And there's always that balance between quality and speed, and then different personalities within a single firm even. And so every client experience is completely different on pricing because you're paying for an input, not an output. It just doesn't make sense. So it's certainty, yes, but it's much more than that. It kind of aligns. It's about alignment with what the client wants to achieve, right? I posted on LinkedIn a while ago, there was a great story about a golf pro that I got from Jonathan Stark's podcast, Ditching Hourly. I don't know if you listen to it, but it's really, really good. I will definitely.
It is, it's really, really good. But it's, so on there, he tells a story, or one of his guests, I forget the guy's name now, but tells a story about, he was with a golf pro. So he's at the golf course getting lessons from a golf pro, and the golf pro's kind of sat there and he's watching him hit the ball, and he hits the ball and he kind of says, well, okay, you need to do this a bit. And he hits the ball again and he says, okay, try and do that. And he hits the ball again, and he's paying the guy by the hour. And they start to get a conversation going that is, what do you do? And then the guy who's paying for the golf lesson sort of says, well, the sort of thing I do and how I charge is like this. So let's take an example. He says to the golf pro, if I pay you half your hourly rate now, but I promise to give you $5,000, this was going back a time, if I get to a single figure handicap, then how would you do that? Would you want to do that? And the first thing the golf pro does is he looks at the guy and sort of thinks, well, is this guy capable of getting a single figure handicap? He decides that he is, and he says, well, okay, if that's what we're going to do, then I need you to come in 3 times a week. We're going to walk around the course together. I'm going to teach you how to play the course. And I'm going to not only teach you how to hit a ball, but I'm going to teach you how to play the whole game. And then you will reach your goal and I will get my money. And the difference between those two stories is that in the one, when you're paying by the hour, the golf pro's outcome is not dependent on you getting your outcome, right? As soon as you're paying based on you achieving what you want to achieve, then the two people are aligned and skin in the game on both sides. And so, yeah, it's definitely about certainty, but I think it goes a bit deeper than that. Certainly for us, it's much more about being aligned with your client's outcomes.
Yeah, I think it's about being aligned with the client's outcomes and also generating value for them, because most of the time, probably lawyers, they don't think about the value, they think about or clients, then they are not able to assess that what value this lawyer will bring on the table. And what they get into is into numbers. Is this lawyer charging more? Is this lawyer charging less? But I think lawyers have to be analyzed in terms of what value they'll bring on the table instead of how many hours they'll be spending on the work.
Definitely. If you ask the client what is it you want to buy, none of them would say, well, an hour of a lawyer's time. That's not what they want. What they want is an outcome that might be, linked to that time input, but they want to buy an output, and that's what we should be selling as a sector. And this is not just IP. I mean, this is right across the legal sector.
I think all of the lawyers in different parts of the world are moving towards fixed fee, because I keep seeing people from Europe talking about it, people from India talking about it, people from Australia, from US, everybody's talking. I think US is a bit slow, but rest of the world is talking about it.
Yeah, I think actually, I mean, in my experience talking to IP professionals and patent attorneys in the US, I think there's a lot of fixed fee work goes on in the US, and actually in the UK too, but you just don't hear about it so much. It's so, it's quite common for larger tech businesses to say, well, this is the way that we want you to price, and if you want all of this work, then you have to price like that, and it's fixed fee. They're not willing to accept. It's the smaller guys. Again, it's the SMEs that can't drive that deal, and they have to pay the hourly rates. But a lot of the work in IP is being done on a fixed fee.
I know. And sometimes the clients also, they get excited and they get surprised. Oh my God, are you quoting fixed fee? We have been working with hourly fees since ages.
Yeah, but fixed fee is the only way to go. But I think there's quite a lot. It'll be hard for quite a lot of law firms to make that switch. And it'll only be if clients start to demand it, because a lot of the internal mechanism of a law firm is built around this process of recording time. And that's the other crazy thing, right? Is that actually it's less efficient for the firm as well. So it's a bad idea for them. You've got to go through all the process of recording time, of then writing time off, if that's what you want to do. So every invoice has to be checked and signed off before it can go out. And there's a huge amount of admin. I mean, is there anything more pointless than recording time knowing that it's going to be written off? But that's what happens, that's what has to happen. So we think fixed fee is a much smarter way to go for us as well. So we don't have any invoicing is automatic, because it's just, we know what the price is. Everybody knows what the price is. So you just click a button, add the fee, and who needs to check it? Nobody needs to check it, because it's sort of, because it's all known already.
Awesome. I think, and it's an important aspect. And if people are not moving towards it, they're losing something. And I think newer clients will demand that, and newer people who are entering into legal area and starting out with their businesses are now moving towards fixed fee, because as you said, they don't want to, like, personally speaking, I don't want to take the pain of recording the number of hours, at what time I'm sitting on my laptop, at what time I am getting up, and I don't want to do that for my employees and colleagues as well. I want people to live with freedom. So what is freedom for them? That they are given a work, they do it religiously with all good quality and produce a quality work and valuable work to the client. So I don't mind if they spend less time doing it, more time doing it, but at least they're providing quality work.
Absolutely. And there's this myth in the legal sector that you can't monitor performance without without understanding how many hours someone's putting in. But every other job manages to monitor performance without knowing how many hours everyone's spending, every 6 minutes that everyone is spending on a particular thing. So it's not true that you can't sort of, make sure that people are performing if you don't have an hours sort of number for them. It's just not true. And so yeah, like you, it's the last thing that we want in our business, the last thing.
Awesome. So now let's move towards IP and have some discussion around IP too. So what do you think are general, we discussed that, small SMEs and small businesses, they require hand holding. So what, according to you, is the most difficult thing for the inventors to understand? I'm sure you must be receiving a lot of queries, and for some of the queries you feel like, oh my God, it's so difficult to make them understand about this. So what is that one thing when it comes to IP?
I mean, the one of the big things, I think there's quite a lot, because it's complicated. Right? IP is complicated, probably unnecessarily so, but it's pretty complex. And so anybody coming into the field of IP, if you've not got a background in it, I mean, how long does it take to train a patent attorney? That gives you an idea. It's like 5 years or so. Right. And even then, are they really competent to be doing things on their own? So you see that even somebody who devotes their entire life to it for sort of 4 or 5 years, they're still not the finished article. So that shows you how complicated it is. So there's a lot to understand. I think it would be a bit unfair of me to sort of say what SMEs do and don't understand. But I think probably if I was to say one thing to start is breadth. So if you're a technology business and you're coming at IP, don't just think patents. Okay. Yeah. There's a lot more to this than just patents, and that's a really, really big thing. So understanding how broad the topic is, and trying to make sure that you get some understanding of that, and then you're able to protect it across that breadth. Yeah. So let's look at all things, and trade secrets are pretty hot right now, and that for good reason, because I think we've relied on patents for too long, and for many businesses they simply don't work. Software businesses being an example, and for other businesses they don't make sense. Getting a patent has a downside. In that you have to publish what you do. Right? And so for some businesses that doesn't make sense. For some businesses it should be a mix. So I would definitely say that get an understanding of the breadth of what you actually own. And the other thing as well is the importance of extracting intellectual property exists in people's heads, in people's brains, right? And it's no use to anybody there. That's like, I mean, what it is, it's of use to the person who's got it in their brain. And whilst they're working for you, maybe it's of use to your business as well. But you've got to pull it, if you want to really realize the value in your IP, you've got to pull it out of people's heads, get it down on paper, recorded somewhere where you can manage it and you can do something with it, right? So those are the two things I think I would say.
You know why I'm laughing? Because I have had clients who would not let me record the discussion or take down notes, because they'll be like, oh my God, we can't let you do that. I said, we need to do drafting. How would we do that if we don't know the technology?
Exactly. So you've got to do that. And it's even more important with things like know-how, right? Because that is... that's really how your business runs. That's the stuff that if your eventual goal is to get an exit or to get investment, then that can really be the gold. I mean, there's a very good friend of mine who told me quite recently about a story when he exited a technology business, and they had patents, but the acquirer wasn't interested in those. It was the know-how. And the fact that they documented the know-how, and that allowed the person acquiring the business, it allowed them to understand how the business worked. And also it allows you just to sort of disassociate it from the people. So it makes the business a realizable thing rather than something that just exists because of the people. So you can pick that know-how up, and in effect, you can put it down somewhere else with a different set of people, teach them it, and then you can run the business over there. So it makes it actually, I think anyway, it makes the value more easily understood by investors and people wanting to buy the business.
So, Stephen, as we are discussing this exit terms and negotiations, what do you think, when it comes to IP asset, what hinders and helps during a negotiation? If you can throw some light on that aspect as well.
Yeah. I mean, IP is only one part of a negotiation like that, and some, depending on the business, depending on who the investor is, on who the sort of, if anybody's looking to buy the business, who they are, it could be a small part. But ultimately, you can wrap it all up, I think, into credibility and risk. I'm not an investor, but my understanding of what investors are interested in, and what I would be interested in if I was sort of parting with large sums of my money, would be I would want to understand that the person I was investing in was credible, and that my money was not going into somewhere where there was a high risk that it would just disappear. So I think where IP plays a role in that is in it can, for a technology business in particular, it can really help to de-risk that investment. And it's one of those areas where not many businesses are really sort of 100% belt and braces, sort of, got it all nailed down. And so it can really improve your credibility. And the effect of being very credible on IP then sort of expands out into the rest of your offering. So I think where I would say it can go wrong is if the IP is not there, then that's an additional risk for an investor. And that means that they're going to chip away at your valuation, right? So they're going to say, this is a higher risk for me, therefore you're not worth as much, therefore I get more for my investment. And that's really what we try to help our clients do, is maximize that part of their valuation by trying to prevent that. I mean, investors will always try to chip away at valuation. They're always going to do that. But if you give them fewer avenues to go down for that, then you increase the chances that you're going to get a higher valuation. And it will always come down to, there's loads of factors that you can't You can't know. Different investors will find risk in different things and be more comfortable with different things. But
Correct.
it's really about just trying to improve the overall package.
So Stephen, just discussing a fun side and a bit controversial topic. I'm sure it would be controversial for you too. The thing is, in the IP world as a whole, we see so many frivolous patent applications, especially the provisional patent applications, which we know will never get granted.
Yeah.
But people file them to attract investors, right?
Yeah.
So what's your take on that? Is it right? Is it wrong? Should people do that? Should people follow that practice, or they should focus on generating IP which truly holds value and which at least would get granted? Because I know there are a lot of clients, especially small businesses, because that is your work area, who think like, okay, we'll just file provisional applications, attract investors. We know that our application would never get granted, but it's okay. Still, we want to file it. So what's your take on that? Is it the right practice, wrong? Whatever you want to say about it.
Yeah, it's definitely don't do it. I don't think it's a good idea at all. It might achieve a short-term goal, but in the long term, it affects your credibility, and it's really, it's not a good idea to try to pull the wool over people's eyes if that's what's happening. I mean, it's not always what's happening, but if that is what's happening, then it's not a good idea. I think the reason that sort of practice comes about is because many investors focus too heavily on patents as a proof of good IP management, or as proof of a technology business protecting its IP. And that's not surprising. They're not IP specialists, probably. And so they look for an easy way to try to understand the IP position.
Correct.
Right. But I think what happens then is that makes the business that's trying to attract the investment, they focus on patents too. Yeah. And if it's a business that can't get patents very easily, like a software business, then they start to file these frivolous things and the things that haven't really got very much mileage in them, just to try and tick that box for an investor. But actually, once you do that, what we were talking about before, which is you broaden out, and I wrote a blog article about this specifically about software businesses, but once you broaden out your understanding of IP, then you can have a more sensible conversation with an investor.
Yes.
So a software business goes into an investor pitch and is asked the inevitable question, do you have patents?
I know. And it's so disheartening to hear too.
I know.
Because I specialize in software patents. So I have these queries throughout day and night. And the moment I think the software is not patentable, at least I make the client aware that it is not patentable. Still, absolutely, they'll focus on this stuff that we want. We want to file a patent application because we won't get investment unless we do it.
But there's a different answer you could give. You could give the answer, no, yes, we've got a provisional application, or no, we haven't got any patents. But you could give a different answer, which is, patents is not the best form of protection for our technology. So what we do instead is, we have all of our know-how documented, we have our trade secrets, we've, all of these different things that you manage. We manage risk, we understand how we can commercialize, and we have all of our contracts, we educate our staff. This is our IP position. It's not about a patent. And for a software business, patents can be, they can still, obviously you can still get software patents, everybody knows that. But for purely software businesses, it's just probably not the right.
I know. So it has become a daily job to probably educate. That's why I told you, it's like we have to educate people more than we have to do the work. So it's like 50% of our work is about educating them. But still, I think in investment industry as a whole, they have a specific mindset, as you said, that if certain person has a patent, it has a lot more value than other IP, which I think has to break. Like this mindset has to break,
Definitely.
and it can only happen from education and awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm surprised that it hasn't come to a head more often, because people invest in businesses that have filed these, spurious patent applications, but eventually that's going to be discovered. I mean,
Yeah,
these things
definitely.
will not be granted, and
No.
and then you start to ask questions about, well, how come they told us that they were sort of getting a patent, and it just is not a good footing to
Yeah.
start a business relationship on. So my advice would be to understand whether you can get patents, whether you should get patents, and think more broadly, protect your IP much more broadly, so that you've got a story to tell about your IP. That's what you want. You want a credible story. And if the law won't allow you to get patents, then there's nothing you can do about that. And an investor shouldn't mind you saying that, we can't get patents because the law won't allow it, but this is all the stuff that we do. That should be okay. That should be a good story. But and until, like you say, until the investor community becomes better at understanding that, then I don't think the companies that are seeking investment are going to follow suit. It's a brave move otherwise.
Definitely. So now the question is, you have been working with European Patent Institute and you have been a member of that. And I'm sure you must be having some suggestions for the government as well, or maybe some suggestions that you think government bodies should know, but you could never communicate with that, because we all do have them. Whenever we have this love and hate relationship with the government bodies. So what do you think is your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of patents, and sort of,
anything, IP, patents, anything.
Do you know what I would I wouldn't direct any comments at the government agencies, so the patent offices. I think that on the whole, I think the EPO does a good job. I think the USPTO, it's different to EPO, which sometimes causes me some frustration, but they do a good job as well. And other patent offices around the world, I think, given the legislation, they operate within that pretty well. I think where I would want to change things is in training, patent attorney training. It's too narrow, and the patent profession as a whole has kind of, it's very inward looking. It thinks that on the whole, this is not true of everybody, and I'm sure lots of people will say will tell me that it's not true of them. But it's on the whole, it kind of it thinks that IP and patents are on a Venn diagram kind of completely overlap. That patents are IP, but it's not the case. And there's so much about IP that patent attorneys need to know and should know, but they don't get trained on. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is just basics of running businesses. How to do sales and marketing is a really good one. I mean, most of the legal sector can't even use the word sales anymore, or marketing. They say business development because it seems a bit nicer and friendlier. But how to do those things, how to run an organization, how to give proper client care. These things, I don't think they're taught enough anyway. I think that the whole profession could benefit a lot from being much more rounded in its education. And CPD just doesn't do it.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's a universal, I think, concern that even I think, and I am I say it very, very bluntly in front of everybody, that we need lawyers who know business.
Yeah.
And running a law firm is running a business. So I also wrote this on LinkedIn, and people were like, oh my God, someone has said it. Someone has really said it, that running a law firm is running a business. But it is actually, we have to manage teams. We have to do sales. We don't call it sales because we can't call it sales. But if we are helping clients in a certain way, we are helping them attain certain value. That is also sales. We need to run our homes. We need to run our organization. We need to grow our businesses as well. Then why can't we say law firms are businesses?
Yeah, exactly. No, I totally agree with you. And that is that would be a really big shift, because I think if that happened, so one of the things that we took special care to do, and we've talked mainly about SMEs and startups, but that is our market segment, that's our sector, and we really wanted to define that quite narrowly, so that then we could understand exactly what it is that those people need. Okay, and getting that right means that you can provide the value better, right? It means that if you're not talking about everybody, if everybody is your client, then you can't really you can't provide the same product to everybody. What a big corporate needs to buy is not the same as what a startup needs to buy, and it's not the same as what an SME needs to buy. And these types of things, if you started to teach patent attorneys those types of skills, then I think it would change the client service model within many firms, and that can only be a good thing for clients, right? I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of clients, I think, are certainly talking to them, are frustrated because they can't find what they actually want. And so what they're faced with is lots of things that are all pretty much the same. They all say they're different, but they're all pretty much the same, and they're not selling what clients want to buy on the whole. I mean, these are all generalizations, of course. There are exceptions within all of that, but that's and I think if we could change that and start to look at, if law firms started to look at what clients wanted to buy rather than what law firms wanted to sell, then I think it would be a big change for the sector.
Definitely, I totally agree with you. And now coming to our quick rapid fire round, answer these very quickly. And these are questions from your life. So 3 things that you are grateful for.
3 things that I'm grateful for. You've asked me to do another sort of priority list. I'm not very good at these things, but okay. Can I have? What about if I said my family? My family and my family. I mean, it's basically, can I do
your
that?
Your dogs will get hurt because of
well, the dog's one of the family. He's one of the family. So yeah. So I think, I mean, there are lots of things that I'm grateful for. My freedom to, professionally, to be able, now I'm running my own business. But I think, all of this was begun because of my family. And it's a big part of what I post on LinkedIn as well, because it's hugely, hugely important to me. So
yeah, definitely. Now, 2 traits or habits that you think are useful for your career.
For law career, you mean, it depends, I guess. I mean, if you want to be a lawyer, that's kind of, I'm not doing this very well as a quickfire, am I? I'm being a bit
that you think are useful.
Things that are useful. So resilience, I would say, in a law career is super, super useful. And I would like to throw in entrepreneurship. I think have an innovative mindset. Let's get in there and break up the old ways of doing things.
Awesome. And now, one aspiration that you have for the future.
Aspiration for the future would be to change the way that, I'm not going to be too broad, I'm going to say change the way that the legal sector charges clients. I want to get rid of hourly billing. I'm stealing Jonathan Stark's mission there, but I want to get rid of hourly billing.
Awesome. I think that is one mission that all of us together can work on
Yes.
and change. And I'm sure after 5 years or say 10 years, we'll not find the hourly rates. I'm pretty sure on that, because people all over the globe are now ready to move towards fixed price.
Definitely.
Just that they're not finding way. Like for us, it's easier because we are starting out. But firms which have been practicing it since years, they find it very difficult to transition.
Very difficult, yeah. But there's a knock-on effect of not charging by the hour. We at Matter, we will be publishing our price list as well, and that's something that I think more transparency over price.
Correct.
As well. So if you've got fixed fees, then there's no reason why you can't publish those, and that allows clients to compare on price where they can't now. It's impossible for clients to compare on price. It's like walking into a shop and there's no prices on anything, right? It's very, very difficult. Then you walk into the shop down the road and there's no prices on anything in there either. You know, how do you decide what's the right price?
So now to conclude, can you share some key takeaways for lawyers and legal entrepreneurs?
Legal entrepreneurs. Okay, so one of the things I've found, if you're a legal entrepreneur and starting a new business, my experience anyway, is that we started the business and we thought we knew exactly what we were going to do and exactly how we were going to present to the market. But actually, it turns out that when you think about the things on your own, when you go to the market, you get feedback and they have a different idea. Be able to adapt and use the first bit of time that you have to listen and respond to what your clients are telling you, right? And it will change the way that you do things, and it will change the way that you package up and sell your services. But that's okay. Spend that first bit of time getting it right, refining the model. At the heart of it, we always had a really, really good idea. How we package that up and how we sell it to our clients is the bit that's been refined, I think. The second thing for legal entrepreneurs is just do it. This sector is crying out for innovation. It is absolutely crying out for it. And there's so much going on. When you as soon as you get into that, there's actually quite a good community, right, of people that want to innovate and want to do things differently. You know, you're a good example of that. And so just take the first step. Just go for it. It's actually not as hard as you think. You know? I mean, hard work, but it's good fun. Right?
It's like when you jump into water, you learn swimming somehow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, either you do or you don't. But
you don't have an option.
No, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I would say, you know, it's actually there's if you get the right product to market fit, then there's work out there for you to get, and have a bit of faith in yourself. And you know, before I started Matter, I had a conversation with a very good friend of mine who's in a completely different business. He's actually in retail, but he sort of said, you know, I said to him, oh, you know, I'd love to do it, but I feel a bit scared. I don't, it feels a bit risky. And so he said, well, okay, then let's talk about the risk.
Yeah.
He said, let's imagine, what's the worst case scenario that, you know, you start this new business and it goes, what happens? And I said, well, you know, I don't win any clients and I don't get any money and I have to stop it. And he said, well, if you did that, what would you do? I said, well, I'd probably go and get a job. He said, what would that job look like? And I said, well, exactly like the one that I've got now, right? And he said, well, where's the risk in that? He said, there's no risk. The worst case scenario is that you end up where you started. And so why don't you just go for it? And actually that was the conversation that did it for me.
And exactly, I think this is the same case for me, because I was doing job for about 3 years before starting my law firm, and there were chills in my body that, okay, I'm going to quit my job and start my law firm. But then I thought about the exact same thing, like, what is the worst case scenario? I can always come back to this job. My boss and I had a very good terms in terms of he liked my work, I liked the firm. So I knew I could anytime. Like even now, if I feel I want to go back to the organization, I know people are waiting there for me to come back. But the thing is that there was no risk, but the risk is always here in our minds.
Absolutely. I think there's an amount of fear of failure in public.
Yeah.
It's not the actual sort of, there's a really good book that I'm reading at the minute called Skin in the Game by Nassim Taleb. And in that, he talks about having to you've got to pin your colors to the mast. You've got to be out there and you've got to say, this is what I believe and this is how I'm going to do things. And there's a risk, there's a social risk in that failing. And that's the bit that I think is more terrifying than the actual financial part of it, looking foolish, looking silly, but that's not real, just go for it.
Similarly, there was a concept I read about. It's called imaginary fear, that things haven't happened yet, and it's like we are imagining in our head, and it's all about imaginary fear that hits us.
A future fear that it's a fear of a future thing that might never happen. That's right. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what holds lots of people back. But there's loads of space to do it. And I tell you, I did a poll on this on LinkedIn recently, and it was a mixed set of responses. But I've never met anybody that has left and started something on their own that then said, I really wish I hadn't done that. Even if it goes wrong, the things that you learn, the people that you meet, and you will get some clients. It might, if it goes wrong, then it might not be enough to sustain you. I don't think that's very common. But even then, you'll have some clients that you can take to another firm. You'll have met loads of people. You'll have learned loads of things. The upsides much outweigh the downs.
So yes, so as Stephen said, just do it, and it's all about the game you play, and be happy, take it like a game and play the game. So thank you so much, Stephen, for being on the show. I'm sure the audience will love this podcast.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for asking me.
Hey there, thank you for attending today's session. If you enjoyed today's session, do follow our channel and consider sharing it with a friend. My name is Priggya Arora, daughter of inspiring parents, alumna of IIT Kharagpur, engineer turned lawyer and entrepreneur, and now founder of PA Legal, where we help creators and innovators protect their intellectual property. Thank you.